a rebel before sexual rebellion and things like that were even fully defined. I'm going to tell you a little bit about Millay, but I'm not going to read any of her poetry. I'm actually going to read a few excerpts from her play, Conversation at Midnight, one of my prized possessions, like a 3rd edition, in a box with like a vellum cover and everything. It's pretty awesome. So when I get a chance to pull it out, I like to do that. The great thing about this particular play, if you know anything about Millay, while she was writing it, her house burned down, and she and her husband lost everything, including the manuscript, to this play. And instead of just saying, well, you know, that's it, I'm done, I'm just going to have to move on to something else, there's no way I'm going to be able to recover all of that, she rewrote the whole damn thing from memory. So, you know, it's one of those things when, you know, when I lose a flash drive, or, you know, I can't find something on my computer, or I could have sworn I left a certain notebook in a certain place and it's gone. You know, I kind of like to think about Millay and be inspired by the story of this particular play, and that even when we think our words are gone, they're not fully gone forever. Millay was, oh, and then after that, I have a couple of poems of my own, one which is inspired by Millay's life, and another one which is inspired and kind of riffs off of one of her most famous poems. So that's kind of what I'm going to do today. Edna St. Vincent Millay was born May 22nd, 1892. She was one of 3 daughters to a single mother, and her mother, the kind of cool thing about her mother, and there were some extremely uncool things about her mother, but one of the really cool things was, you know, back in a time when women still really couldn't own property, couldn't vote, had really no control over their own lives, she kicked her own husband out of the house and chose to be a single mother. And I think it's a testament to both the strength of the woman and the weakness of the man that was allowed to happen in an age where so many things were closed off to women. She grew up in Maine, so she's sort of one of us New Englander female writers, which is one of the reasons why I really associate very closely to her. In 1912, she won a contest. She won 4th place for one of her poems, and part of the prize was a scholarship to Vassar. So she went to Vassar College, graduated in 1917, which was also when she published her first full-length book. In 1921, she wrote her first play, which was called The Lamp and the Bell, and in that particular play, it was about the sexual relationship between 2 women, and this was back in 1921, at least almost 50 years before the sexual revolution. You know, Millay was not only living very openly as a bisexual woman, but she was also writing about it, and not just writing poetry or fiction about it. She was writing plays, so she was writing these words and writing these actions, and then other people were getting up on a stage and acting them out and speaking her words, and she was getting paid for it, which is just, to me, it's very phenomenal, and just a testament to the fact that in an age where such things were really still kind of frowned upon, she was able to make a living with it. In 1923, she won the Pulitzer Prize for her book, The Harp Weaver. Also in that year, she married Eugene Boxevain, who gave up his own career in order to manage Millay's, and with his help and with his encouragement, this is when she became really a phenomenon and a superstar. She would be the equivalent today of Lady Gaga or something like that. I mean, back then, it was the poets and the writers who were really famed and revered, and were people that people would just come out to see and get their autographs and be incredibly impressed by. And you know, it is kind of sad that at this point in our country's history, you're right, we don't revere our poets, we don't treat them with any sort of respect or their words with any respect, even though if we did focus a little bit more, maybe we'd realize how very important poetry is to us and is to our national well-being. They lived in an open marriage for 26 years. Millay used to joke that they were two bachelors living together. They not only slept together and slept with other people, they would share sexual partners as well. Bossevin died in 1949 and Millay died the year after in 1950. So a little bit about her life. If you'd like to know more, there's an excellent biography called Savage Beauty, which is just like over 700 pages and just phenomenal. I learned an awful lot when I first read that book, and it's still really, I think, one of the most impressive biographies and well-researched biographies of an American poet out there. So without further ado, I'm going to read you a little bit of Conversation at Midnight. The children born and reared are underfoot to her who twice has heard the homing brute. Enter the hall and shake away the weather, and man and armchair make a sigh together. The snorting wind that paws the decorous door speaks in a language hers, though heretofore hushed like a healthy rogue, who would avow their common childhoods broke to the lisping now. Save for her slippered spouse, that fireside to the wind and the wind's news would be open wide. But here he sprawls unspurred and must be rested from dangers not incurred till weighed and tested. Proletarian poetry today is the private scream of the individual encroached upon by the mass. It is the love song of the claustrophobic who has espoused the crowd. Walled in by the flanks of the herd, the egregious spirit against its given word and against its will withdraws to its only breathing place, to the small open center, whence with most passionate fisty hand it urges on the herd in a voice they trust, but in a language they do not understand. And from a shrinking circle variably approaching nothingness, which nonetheless they shall not enter. Safe on its diminishing island sits the surrounded eye, and loves to this extent the tide it is diminished by. Thou rock, my soul be stern against the eroding sea, thou strong, thou laminated thing. Yield to the welcome, to the invited wave, all thy street substance save the jewel at its core. Eat me, ye hungry, but let food suffice. One morsel more were ritual, were unseemly sacrifice.